Hello, welcome. This is the reference photo that I'll be doing the sketch of today. This video will be the sketch, and then I did a part 2 for the watercolor and ink process, because otherwise it would have been like an hour long. So I started off with the iPad on the left, and I'm gonna keep that there so I can point out some things for you as we're going along. And I'm going to be using my dip pen and some black Noodler's ink in my little container. And I'm going to start out this sketch in pencil. And I'm going to do just the center of the paper. Try not to go to the very edge. So I'm going to just kind of figure out where the middle is, and then if you hold your pencil, or if you're using a pen, on an angle, it kind of is a little bit of a really good reference to know how steep that angle is. Because sometimes we'll look at something, and if you're sketching and you're doing well, and all of a sudden you do one wrong angle, it could throw your whole perspective off on your sketch. I got in that center corner above the door. That's kind of a big front focal point. And then just sketching in these balconies. They're on a pretty steep angle. And then I know to put that at that angle. And I'm always looking kind of across what's even with what. So that balcony, and I'm trying to put in that corner where that little building decor is in. So I just kind of figured that from that balcony and across. And I'm not going to sketch the whole thing. I'm just going to do some of the main parts. I love this image because of the way it kind of draws you in, and then you've got that greenery in the back, and then you go back and you kind of lose yourself into the back of that image. So just trying to see where that one little side half wall is compared to the awning. I love to fade things off. So I've got my sketch, most of my sketch done, and now I'm just going to go over the pencil with my ink. And then when I'm done, if there's any pencil showing, I'll just make sure my ink is dry and then go ahead and erase any of those pencil marks. Sometimes I've forgotten, and it doesn't show so much once you get some watercolor on. So there's this little doohickey thing on the building. I'm not sure what that is. It might be like a ladder up to the roof. But I love the angles of this one. It's always, those are always challenging. And then those windows are very narrow because they're just so sideways that you just need a little sliver window. And then there's a little, don't even do the bottom of the window because there's a little basket there with plants in it. And sometimes I'll go to put something down and then I lift the pen real fast because I just want to make sure I'm looking at what I'm looking at correctly before I commit. And I like doing this like kind of half loop, or not half loop, but this half circle thing on the top and just do it halfway. I mean, it's like that in the image, but I'm not going to the end of the paper. So this little building, this Brambles, is a English tea shop. So you can go there and have an authentic English tea. I think I read they have over 75 different types of tea. I just thought this was such a pretty building with a beautiful little alleyway. So I'm looking at that point across from the top of the balcony, and I know that it's a little bit higher. And then that bottom of that balcony goes to the point of, or the bottom of that, or to the top of the awning pretty much, but I think I was a little short on it. But like I've always said in other previous videos, it doesn't have to be perfect when it comes to some of these smaller details. You just want to get the gist of the bigger stuff so that you are not running out of space, out of paper, or completely off kilt. Amazing how straight up that goes. I'm going to put in that corner, those corner decor. I love that little metal wall hanging to the right of that. It's very interesting. Great detail. And this is in, I don't know if I mentioned it, it's in Naples, Florida on 5th Avenue. So I think I was getting a little off perspective on those square corner things, so I just kind of stopped there because they kind of meet up with that top of that roof, and I figure I'll put maybe one, just squeeze one more in there. And these things are always challenging for me. These little decor looking support beams. But I'm just getting kind of a hint of the shape of them. It's that small little balcony in the back. And then I'm putting in those two little awnings off the side of the building. And this one I went too far up, or made it too long at the top. But those little things happen and they don't really show once it's done. And then there's some doorways that are very narrow. You can just put a hint of line. A couple little really narrow squares or rectangles. So here I'm counting those because I'm like starting to, you start seeing things and your eyes start playing tricks on you. And I'm like, where am I? You just have to take a second and it'll come to you. So the lighting changed because I'm in Florida and there's a big storm coming through right now. So I lost my beautiful sunlight coming into my window, but it'll be back. Storms in Florida, it rains really hard and thunders for an hour or two, and then it goes away and the sun comes back out and go out and play. I love this awning. I love this awning and that door. I love doing doors like that. So as always, I sped this up just a hair because it took me about an hour to just start with the pencil sketch and then do the ink sketch. It took me about an hour to get this sketch done. There's a lot of detail. So this is only a 28-minute video because of the speed up, which is nice. But it doesn't look like I'm going fast, so you can imagine you can imagine how slow I was going. But I didn't want to mess up. And once you get so far, I get more nervous because I'm like, oh, I'm I'm getting there, and then I just don't want something to go rogue. And there's some people on YouTube, and they'll do, which is definitely a loose sketch. They'll set a timer and do like a 10-minute sketch. And that's just too stressful for me. I'll pass. Maybe someday. Maybe once. Or maybe something really simple. But these angles are really, all those corners and edges and detail. I just wanted to take my time. I did finish the watercolor after, and I don't know, I can't remember how long that video is. I haven't done the narration. I'm going to do it right after I finish this one. But it turned out so cute. It just so, I left it very soft. It's really pretty. This one was a fun one to do. If you like your subject, it takes me the most that anything takes me is just doing the research to find. I'm going to do that metal wall sculpture now. I take a long time researching to find the subject because it really has to resonate with you, and you have to love it in order to want to spend time sketching it. Luckily, sketching doesn't take too long, so you're not committing too much time, but you really want to like your subject. So that is what takes me the longest out of anything, is just finding something. And I did have this image, and it was a little bit different, but then I didn't care for the angle of it. So then I saw this one, and I was like, this is perfect. And I loved it so much, I didn't even know what this was. I didn't know it was a tea shop. And when I found that, I was like, of course it is. Look at how cute it is. It has to be. I thought it was a boutique. And that decor above my awning there is it's a little wonky, a little off, but just that, seems like that bottom one. I can go back in and fix that. So here I got a little confused. But you can't tell. I think I put one too many lines. There's a little balcony door there, and some two little potted plants. hardly see that door there. I was almost not going to put it in, but then thought that big blank area needed something. And then I measured it, like kind of looked to see what that was across from the little light fixture. And this is my favorite part. I love that thing, that little green entryway. Isn't that the best? So sweet. Really makes this image. So I'm going to attempt to put these people in, sitting at this table, and I'm getting nervous. Thinking. And we're going for it. Putting the chairs in first. I think they could have been a hair bigger, but it seems to be okay. And you know, when people are off into the distance, you don't want to put much. You just want to do the least amount of features. And I was working on him, and I was working on the head, and all of a sudden I made a line, and it looks like a mouth, and I'm like, oh no. So that didn't, I wasn't trying to put a mouth in, but it just happened to look like one. So that wasn't great. So next time I'm not putting any, I can't even put any features when they're that far into the back, or not into the back, excuse me, when they're that small. But I'm glad I put them in, because I thought it was a good challenge, and I think it needed it. And then just throwing in some plants. And this planter here, I'm not making it fancy like it is. I'm just going to put a regular old planter. I don't even do the whole planter, just a little bit of it, because that's all that's there. It's looking good. It's a pretty good proportion. And I was a little nervous because my paper was a little more square. I actually cut some of it was an 8x8, and I took a inch off the side just to give me a little bit more of a rectangle, because I think the square would have thrown me off with that iPad size. Looks rectangle. So I'm throwing in a few little bricks here and there just to give you the gist of a brick walkway. I like it that way. I don't like putting in every single brick. You don't have to. This is way more fun. So I'm putting that sign on that awning first because I don't want to put the lines in. I want that on there first, and then I'll go ahead and put the stripes in so I don't go through that sign. Putting them on a little curve so it looks angled. And so that's about it. Now you just want to make sure that your ink is completely dry, and then you can go ahead and erase any pencil marks that are showing. So here is the finished image. It's not a great photo, unfortunately. I forgot to take a photo of it, so I took a screenshot off of one of the videos. But this is the sketch for now, and let's move on to part 2 and put some watercolor on this. So I'll see you in the next video.